Welcome back to the Code Yellow podcast, where we talk about relationships from the lens of scripture and good old common sense. If you like what we bring, make sure to like, share, and subscribe, and tell all your friends, because we are on the road to 1,000 subscribers. Yeah, what you got for us, Dom?
All right, the iceberg. This is a good one. All right, because you have somebody like you that's interested in tech, and you're a hair person, and you're a social media person. All right. So, what has been the greatest innovation or invention that just makes your life so much easier that you can't live without?
Cloud storage.
Ooh, why?
Cloud storage, easy, because let it be iCloud, Google Drive, doesn't matter. You can access I can access a file on my computer from my phone right now. Wow. And save it to my computer and go find it in my computer when I get home. That's the best thing ever.
What you got, Annie?
Honestly,
think about what makes your life so much easier.
I know my phone in general. I would just say, I right now do house management, and so just organizing and everything. I just do it all from my phone. Most times, I don't have to go in person to work. Well, I do, but not until much later in the day, just because I organize everything on my phone. So my phone in general, emails, lists, and organizers, reminders, all of that. It's just helpful.
What about you?
For me, Amazon.
That's a good one.
And the funny thing is, I'm not even a huge Amazon person. There are people that have stuff on Amazon every week they have something. I'm like, I need something, but the fact that 25 years ago this did not even exist, I think it makes everybody's life a little bit easier.
Yeah. I know there's a demographic that won't believe us if we tell them that Netflix used to come in the mail.
Right.
Oh my gosh, I know.
I forgot about that.
Yes. Don't sue us, Netflix, please. Anyway, you already gave your answer? No, please.
Oh, okay.
You do hair, you do all these things. What makes your life easier?
I don't know. I'm really bad at this kind of stuff.
Weave. Hers is weave. All right, there we go.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll go with weave. All right, we'll do that. Anyway, you might be wondering why we're wearing all or mostly black today. We are hosting a funeral. Grief is a complicated thing that we go through, right? And you don't have to just grieve death of a loved one. There's different things you can grieve in life, but there's also things you can put to rest and kind of depart from them, emotionally. You can put them to bed, but then also mourn things that have already gone from our lives.
Right.
So today we are kind of talking about that, what things we're putting to death or mourning. And I guess I'll start. The one thing that I want to intentionally put to death is analysis paralysis. So when it comes to making your dreams come true, when it comes to doing things that matter to you, I'll think of all the things that can happen or that I might want to happen, and it'll make me freeze, and then nothing actually happens. I want to be able to be that person that can change my circumstance so that the things that I want can come true.
I strongly identify with that. So I don't want it to be like, oh, Jasmine has no original thought today. That is not the case. That just resonates with me very just loudly. And so I want to share that as well for myself. So I'm putting to death not finishing the thing. I'm not even going to focus so much on all the what ifs, even if they're positive that comes with what I want to do. I'm just focusing on getting doing it and completing it and being able to say I completed it and welcoming the things that come with it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Annie, what you got?
I think for me, I'm really still thinking about it. But what comes to mind is I am putting to death just comparison. I grew up, and I actually don't even mean me comparing myself to other people. I grew up in a house where, we talked about other episodes, my sister and I, we were always compared and pinned against each other. And it just really was not a healthy environment that I was raised in. And when Taj and I were on our road to marriage, I just was I number one, refuse to raise my kids like that. I refuse to continue that generational curse of like making children like against each other, but also like I wanted to start anew with like this new family that Taj and I have, and just not how do I explain, like not feel anymore like I'm not good enough and like I don't deserve to be here, like alive in general. And so I am putting to death that, like I'm putting to death the thought that I'm not good enough, that I'm not worthy, that I have the things and the life that I have by luck. Like it's not. Like, and obviously it's by blessings of God, but even that, like I am a daughter of Christ, and that alone is my relationship with him is deserving of whatever good thing he wants to bring me. So that is what this funeral is for.
Yeah, indeed.
I think I'm putting to death just current discomfort and pain for a greater outcome. Because the reality is, and we've known this because we've all lived life at least 30 years, that you pay now, you pay later.
Mercy God.
But every day, every dog has his day. And one of these days you're going to pay. So, you know, you all know I've been on this fitness journey. And it's just, oh man, I don't feel like going, or I feel like eating ice cream tonight, or whatever the case may be. Like that type of stuff adds up. So the current discomfort, like, man, I really want to do this. But like the end, seeing the end, I think as men, we have to be visionaries for our families, for our lives. I think that's a key character trait to hone in on. If you're not the strongest at it, you know, just try to work on it. But that's my vision for my life. Like, okay, bet I'm going to give up the current discomfort or current inconveniences or current, you know, procrastination or whatever the case may be for that greater goal, that end goal, so that I can be where I want to be and where God essentially wants to take me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Is there anything that we're mourning the loss of that not intentionally putting to death today?
Ooh, I think I know where you're going with that. What are some examples?
All right, I'll start. So, it's kind of like it's two sides to it, right? But what I guess I actually have a couple things, but I'll do this one. I am mourning. I think, okay, as I've become, I turned 30 this year, right? And while I've felt more self-assured in this time of my life than almost any other, I've reached a newfound clarity that also makes me second guess the things that I think that I know, you know? Because now with this new clarity, now you have a whole new list of things to analyze before you make a decision. And knowing me, I will touch everything. If my brain thinks of it, it's going to touch it, right? So in a previous time in my life when it wasn't as clear, things were just automatic. Some things were just automatic, like, you know, not worried about this and this and this. But now I have like little anxieties about these different things. So I think I mourn sometimes the free-spirited, unworried version of me that has been replaced with this more intentional, more clear, more cautious version of me.
So like the past version of yourself.
Yeah.
I think I was sharing with Jasmine, I met a young man at the gym, and he was like, hey, I just moved here from California. We were just chatting it up. And he played ball all of his life, and he's not playing ball anymore. He's like, the question that sparked that was, well, what do you want to do with your life? Where do you want to go? And like my brain is always going like, okay, who do I know? Who can I, what resources, blah, blah, blah. And so he was like, I actually don't know. He felt, he didn't say the word, but kind of untethered. He's like, I'm working this job right now, but you know, I do want to do more. And I said, have you ever grieved football? He was like, no, I've never grieved that. And I was like, a lot of athletes don't realize that you played this sport your whole entire life. Your identity has been based in this sport. And it's kind of like over one of these days. And you just don't know how to go left, right, because it's been so ingrained in what you do. And he was like, I've literally never heard that before. And I was like, bro, you have permission. I felt like Ian Van Zandt. You have my son. You have permission to grieve that loss and take some time to just kind of figure out what it is that you want to do. You know, I'm always going to throw the word in there, like, hey, talk to God, ask God where he would like to lead you in order for you to continue to just do great things in life. So I think a part of the mourning and putting things to rest are like things that we need to grieve. And that's one of them, you know. how you thought something was going to be. Maybe you thought you were going to be 30 and married and have 3 children and a white picket fence, and you are not. You know what I mean? It's that, I think that's something that must be grieved as well.
I'll say even another thing that I think I'm putting this into death and grieving it at the same time. So, missed opportunities to connect with people that, I care about a lot. And so, for example, I had a very tight group of friends. We're still friends to this day. They're my boys, right? But because of the frame of mind I was in when I started at Oakwood, I didn't capitalize on all the chances I had to hang out with them, to get close with them, to bond. Because I didn't really know I needed that then. And I think that it's almost like there was an opportunity missed to get even closer than I am now with them, But I think I want to put to death the fear of missed opportunities, or the ache of missed opportunities from the past, because I don't want them to burden me, these missed opportunities. The only reason I should be remembering them is to remind myself on how not to miss future ones. Mm-hmm. And I think I want to put that to death, the ache of that thing that could have been, but maybe probably wasn't.
Mm-hmm. And I want to encourage you, Devin, life is not going to pass you by in those relationships and your plans for the future. Life isn't going to pass you by because we had a perceived missed opportunity.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's good.
Yeah. So there's lots of things that can be grieved, right? As I said, there's losing your community. Who has had a big move in the past 5 years? Yeah.
We're moving to Texas from Miami. Yep. Didn't know anybody.
Yeah.
Yep. And Martha and I, we moved from California 2 years ago. We moved to yeah, it just reminded me. We had a singing group that we were a part of. That was they're near and dear to my heart. And we went all over Southern California, singing here and there. We actually made a little bit of money doing it. It was really cool. We tried to record, didn't quite work out, but it was so much fun. So the we transitioned over here. Music community is different, and I missed having that core group of people that I could sing with, and those were our people. But now we've built another version of that here. And which is it's great. It's a new phase, but sometimes it's you have to accept that this is different now, Yeah, but I still think about them. Yeah, my people.
Yeah. What are some other things that can be grieved, Devin, on that list? That list is good.
That's a great list. Friendships that have ended.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that I've had too many of those that have ended in say a fiery crash and burn. Have you guys ever
I have had that.
I've had some more in friendships. Yeah, in a friendship.
Yeah, it's difficult. In a way, I know it sounds crazy, but in some ways it's harder or worse than a breakup. And I would say, honestly, that is the closest thing to mourning death, to be honest, at least for me, because it's you go from being really close to someone to then this person is existing on this world, on this earth, but then you don't have access and they don't have access to you anymore because of whatever the situation may be. And then it's just man, we were so close at this time, or, oh, they helped me through this season, or whatever the case may be. And that's just not. And so it literally felt that my therapist actually was the one who helped me realize, I know, at the way that the friendship that's coming to mind, the way that it ended was very traumatic, and she betrayed me. But and so I felt justified. Obviously, it was very justified in ending the friendship. But then my therapist in that season, she was the one who helped me realize, well, I mean, you are angry, but you're angry because you loved her. Mm-hmm. You're angry because she mattered. You wouldn't be the inner turmoil of forgiveness versus not forgiveness, talking to them, seeing them again. It's not because of anything more than you at one point cared deeply for this person. Yeah. And it took actually a lot of therapy and a lot of conversations with my therapist to help me through that, because it was the closest thing to losing someone that I had ever come across. So yeah.
It's a real thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and losing a friend is tough because like friendships, it's like the family you choose,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So for one reason or another, you have to or end up terminating that relationship. It's a real loss.
It is.
Yeah,
Real
for
loss.
sure.
Losing community, missing the certainty you once had. I already mourned that, and then questioning your judgment, like grieving the position of having to question your judgment a lot, like because then you can't stand on solid ground if your ground's not solid, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
and that can be really tough.
I will piggyback because I talked about that friendship that was difficult. I think I actually talked to your sister-in-law about that because one of the reasons why grieving that friendship was also so difficult was after the fact. I questioned a lot of my friendships and relationships, and I very much doubted a lot. And I questioned myself a lot of how I didn't see it coming, how a lot of things that I overlooked as far as character that I thought were, she is working on that, or that can be forgiven. Like, I questioned my own judgment very much in how well I was at picking friends and picking my community. And so questioning your own judgment actually is like, that was a very hard phase of my life because I really sheltered myself from making new friends. Even, I don't want to say friendships that God called me to or whatever, but I just was so wary of, I don't know what they're going to do. I don't know what their intentions are. And so it was really difficult to, just question myself like that. But now I think I'm in a much more better place. Like, I do make friends now, and I realize like I am a good friend now, but it took a lot of therapy. Shout out to Brittany, but like a lot.
Yeah, what you said just reminded me of, like, let's say you have a building and it's supported by, say, 7 pillars. If any one of those pillars breaks, it now throws into jeopardy the integrity of all the other pillars, because now this building that was designed to be carried by 7 pillars is now being carried by 6. So it's either you got to figure out how to do damage control and, like, shelter now support it again, or you're in for a wild ride.
Yeah.
That's probably not going to be fun,
Going back to, you mentioned community, I actually have had to grieve the loss of church community more than once. And once as a child and once as an adult. And I held on to as a child for a long time. Like, we ended up leaving the church that I identified that I grew up in at like 8 and went to another church. Just life and dynamics and things like that. But I so longed for like the people I went to church with, and then fast forward 2020, the pandemic. I'm sure a lot of people may have experienced like they had to grieve a loss of the way life was before quarantine came. But to the extent of my church, like many churches at the time, went virtual, and then by the time we came out of the pandemic, the ministry dissipated, and none of us were prepared for it. And even though we all lived in the same city, like the congregation, we all were pretty, had really good camaraderie, I should say strong camaraderie. A lot of us were pretty close, and we would fellowship outside of church as well. But it took us so far back, I guess, because we didn't have that, almost like that epicenter to bring us together to reconvene. Not saying that we couldn't do it on our own, but we were looking forward to it. I think everyone was looking forward to like coming back to, once you got to that point, whether it was going back to stores the way you used to, whether it was, fellowshipping at church the way that you used to, in school, everything that changed. And so we didn't have that opportunity. And so that was tough. That was very tough because it was a new level of mourning, or another aspect of mourning, how it was before quarantine, and then it not existing anymore, even to go back to. So,
Yeah, the evolution of a community is just, it can be so heavy, and like, cause I mean, when you build a community, those are your people.
right.
So something throws it off, and like, there's no road to, what it was before, And speaking of church, and I guess church in general, like comes a point in time where every Christian or Seventh-day Adventist, or anybody who is with a church community, they kind of have to mourn the reality that things aren't always just black and white. Because when you're a child, you grow up, you hear, this is good, this is bad, things seem real easy. But then you hit the real world and you see these things happen in real time, and you're like, you have to come to a new understanding of what you believe. And let go of the peaceful, naive mindset you had before, and let go of, what you thought was just real simple, real easy, because now life is in the picture. Now there is grieving, feeling lost and unanchored, which is kind of points to what you were talking about with now the disjointing of this, once thriving, population of, church people, Now how do you get your roots back? That's like the next phase of all this. We can grieve all we want, but like, how do we get our roots back? Like, how do we restabilize?
I mean, it's challenging because even for that specific example, my friends and I were talking about how like it was one thing if we had made the choice to leave on our own, but not to have the option. Like we just never thought it would have, like this would have been the reason why. We even said like for me, and it was actually shy of me meeting Zav and then us, dating seriously and moving forward. But I was like, I thought that was going to be the reason I ever left my church, was like, oh, I'm getting married and now I'm going to my husband's church. But it was like, it, came before that. But I find that to be a really challenging question in general. Like, like what do you do when you're like when you're starting over, and it's like, where do I start? What I will say when it comes to community, I was blessed enough that, Zav had quite an established community for me to welcome me when I came. But I definitely will say that was, I guess for lack of a better word, I was going to say fear, maybe a concern when I was looking to move, even before I met him. Like, what does it look like to start completely over again? Because it's different when you're in going into a newly contained environment, like when you're going to college. Like, you may not know anybody when you go to college, but we're all here. We know we have like some commonalities that we can start from. But when you move to like a new city, like by yourself, anyone, you're starting from scratch. So I can't say that I really have an answer for like to your question as I'm like reflecting. What do you all think?
I mean, I think definitely acknowledgement is like the first step. Acknowledging that this is a thing and that like feel your feelings sounds super like psychology, like Dr. Zav. Just saying. But feel your feelings, one, and then I feel like to get that grounding, and I'm just like looking back on what I did, because I know maybe 3 people in Houston when I moved here or whatnot, which is wild. But you have to do things that are kind of like out of your comfort zone, right? I know like I am an extrovert, but there's sometimes like I have that limiting belief and that doubt, like, okay, am I gonna actually meet somebody? Am I gonna connect with someone? And I think I mentioned this on the podcast before. Before I go anywhere, I ask God, give me divine appointment. There is someone that I'm supposed to speak to, that I'm supposed to meet or whatnot. And you have to be open to that. I'm smiling now because I saw someone post on social media, and they were just like, oh, in order to be in a relationship, you actually have to go on dates. And then like all of our mutual single friends were just like, oh yeah, and you actually have to do that annoying thing where you sit on the phone for 3 hours late night trying to get to know people, and then you have to like text people back. And like all these single people were commenting, and I bust out laughing or whatnot. But the reality is, when you're trying to anchor yourself in a community and just rebuilds, once you've mourned and accepted it and acknowledged it, definitely getting out there and seeing who you can connect to or whatnot. I think that's gonna be key. And it might look different than your last city, your last church, your last, whatever it may be, but that's okay too. And I think the third thing, if you're trying to like re-anchor yourself at a lost community or whatnot, is, and I think I always go back to this, pray. Pray but pray very specific prayers. God, I want a community of, I've done this before. God, I want a community of Black men who are husbands and fathers. They exist. I'm not an anomaly. None of us, you out there, you are not an anomaly. You're not the only person that just graduated your PhD. You're not the only person that moved to a city for a job, right? Pray to God and just say, God, I want to meet other people, like-minded individuals like me, and He will send it to you. He will bring it to you. If you grieved already and you're trying to get your footing, do that.
And do you have anything you want to?
No, honestly, I think Zav said everything. It's like it was good.
So the one thing that we all have to do when we transition from something old that we are sad we lost to something new is having a positive mindset about what the new can bring.
I love that. I love that.
So every tree started as a seed, right? And every seed needs a good environment with water and sun, right? So if you can surround yourself with good people, even if you're in a place that is completely unfamiliar, you can start this chapter in the best possible soil, as it were. So as we put to death the past, as we let go of things that we either want to get rid of or didn't want to get rid of.
We got to sing a song before we close. And y'all need to sing it with me. It just came in my spirit. New, everything new, everything new. Hey, I'm ready to go. Hey, shout out to Uncle Ty.
Uncle Ty. Well, as you mourn, just remember to always have a positive outlook as you turn a new page. Thank you for joining us. And as always, heal responsibly. See you next time.
Peace.